Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:01. I ask that out of respect to everyone, please silence all electronic devices. Also, if you have any material you wish to share with any board member, please give that to our executive assistant, Ms. Morey. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have online, we have Ms. Berenborg and also Dr. Pasca. Can you both hear us, Dr. Pasca, Ms. Berenborg, thumbs up?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. All right, we will now go into the adoption of the orders of the day. Seeing there are no consent items to approve, we will move into the public hearing for the proposed final millage rates and the proposed final budget. Again, the purpose of tonight's meeting is for the board to adopt the final millage rates and final budget for the 24-25 school year after receiving public input. Being as there are no consent or action agenda items, Dr. Moore is recognized, and of course, after Dr. Moore speaks, he will recognize Mr. Green to present on the final millage rates. Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to reserve my remarks till the end and let Mr. Green present the items as they are on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Through the chair, thank you very much. I just once again like to begin by thanking the staff in the finance and accounting department specifically. Several of them are behind me, and one of them is next to me now. Some of these individuals have not taken a day off in over a month other than Labor Day, which I had to force them to do. Many late nights at 8 o'clock, forcing them to leave their office. But this work is complex, it is tedious, but it is important work of the board and of the staff. So I want to show my appreciation to them, as well as to each of the board members who have spent time with me, spent time with the public, going through the budget line, having very specific questions, and as well as our community and our guests that we have with us that have also reviewed that budget. So with that, I will be reading a little bit from script more than I normally do. There's just some things to read into the record. So tonight there are 4 items that you will be voting on, and those are the final millage rates for 24-25, the final budget for 24-25, the annual financial report for 23-24, and the final budget amendments for 23-24. As you know, those budget amendments normally come at regular board meetings, but this is budget amendment number 10, which would finish out through June 30th of 2024. Tonight is the second of 2 public hearings you're required to have to adopt your budget. We've already had the tentative. Prior to this meeting, we had our truth in millage or trim advertisements approved by the board on July 19th. Those were published in the TC Palm on July 16th. Those were published in the paper on the 19th. And we had our first public hearing on July 22nd. This particular meeting, public hearing, was actually noticed in the citizens' tax notice. And it noticed this particular meeting with the trim notice for tonight's meeting. So the final millage rates for 24-25 are exactly the same as the millage rates we talked about during the tentative budget. They have not changed, but I would like to read them in the record. The required local effort of 3.0050 mil, which includes a prior period funding adjustment of 0.0010, the basic operating discretionary millage of 0.748, your capital outlay millage of 1.5 mil, and your additional voted discretionary millage of 0.5, for a total of 5.7530 mils. Those are the exact millage rates we discussed in the tentative and you adopted. Those millage rates are a decrease of 0.158 mils or 2.67% compared to last year's 5.9110 mils. And those decreased because property values increased. Right. All other millage rates remained the same. It was only the required local effort which decreased by 0.158. The other 3 are the same. The total millage rates to be levied exceeded the rollback rate by 2.76%. And the revenues to be generated from the millages are as follows. From the required local effort of 3.0050, $94,230,258. From the basic discretionary operating, 0.748 mil, $23,455,652. From the 1.5 capital outlay millage, $47,036,734. And from the 0.5 additional voted discretionary, $15,678,912, for a total of 5.7530 mils, generating $180,401,556. At this time, I will turn it back over to the chair to conduct a public hearing.
Okay, I'm going to go with board members for discussion first, and then see if we have any questions. And Ms. Berenberg, I will start with you online to see if you have any questions about the final millage rates.
No, I don't. I have already met with Bruce, and thank you for answering all of my questions, and thank you to his team for all their hard work and many, many hours. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Dr. Posca?
I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rosario?
Same sentiment. I'm incredibly grateful for all the work that you do, Mr. Green and your team. Everyone in finance has just gone above and beyond. So I'm always appreciative of all your work. Thank you so much.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes, same sentiment. Thank you very much. I understand you worked very hard and long on this, and the results show it, and I appreciate all your diligence and your hard work and your dedication.
It's really great to have a team like you have, and I think I heard you work 21 straight days, or some people did, just to get this ready. I thank you. And I also want to add, especially with the 0.5 mil, other areas, other counties ask for more, and our return on investment is pretty darn good, so I'm very thankful. All right, is that it for board members? So I'd like to now double check on the public hearing on the final millage rates. Dr. Moore, have you documented that this public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statute?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We now recess this meeting to conduct a public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in session. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Not at this time.
Thank you. The public is now invited to address this issue at this time. Citizen input is to be related directly to the final millage rates. Members of the community wishing to share comments on other topics should plan to attend our next school board business meeting on September 23rd. Is there any individual representing an organization or his personal or public interest who wishes to speak? Okay, come on up and please identify yourself.
Good evening. My name is Sunny Lula, and I serve as the newly appointed Vice Chair of Education for the Taxpayers Association's Indian River Oversight Committee. I want to thank Lance Lunsford and the Taxpayers Association for the opportunity to lead in this capacity following my previous role as Head of School District Oversight, where I advised the President and the Association's Board on SDIRC matters. Please know that immediately after my remarks, we do have some pressing business that we have to leave for, but we're here this evening because our association knows how important this moment is for our community. We all agree that the citizens of this county deserve a school district that operates with fiscal responsibility and prudence. On behalf of Lance and the TPA, I'm here to formally convey our Board of Directors' approval of the 2024 to 2025 tentative budget, as each of you is aware from the letter we submitted. In our decision, we specifically acknowledge the continued efforts to reduce debt and maintain a balanced budget, which is a key reason for our support. The district's consecutive A ratings and upward trajectory in state rankings is a significant accomplishment and deserving praise. However, it's important that we continue to innovate our educational landscape and to have Indian River County lead the way in the nation's school districts. Achieving this requires us to look beyond merely adhering to state standards, which don't often fully measure our students' full potential. While meeting those standards is important, our true goal should be the consistent graduation of young adults who are the next generation of leaders and have a strong sense of civic responsibility, critical thinking skills, and responsibility for their futures. In an effort to reach this goal, it is important to empower our schools, teachers, support staff, and district leadership. That is why we approve of this budget. While we do have high expectations and high standards, we must provide the resources necessary to meet them. We look forward to a continued collaboration between the Taxpayers Association and SDIRC. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. Anyone else wish to speak? Well said. Okay, the board meeting is reconvened at this time. Approval of Resolution 2025-03, adoption of the final millage rates. This is the official board approval of Resolution 2025-03, determining revenues and millage levied, including required local effort, basic discretionary, additional voted, and capital outlay. And the chair will call for a motion for approval of Resolution 2025-03, adoption of the final millage rates.
Make a motion?
Thank you, Ms. Rosario.
Second.
Mr. McDonald. Now, the chair recognizes Ms. Morey for a roll call.
Dr. Pasca,
Aye.
Mrs. Rosario,
Aye.
Dr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Berenborg,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Motion passed with a 5-0 vote. Let's do a congratulations right now to our business team. All righty. Now we are on public hearing proposed budget. Annually, the district is required to prepare and present the annual budget for the upcoming year in accordance with School Board Policy 6233, along with Chapter 200 of the Florida Statute. The budget for 24-25 includes the following funds: General Fund, Debt Service Fund, Capital Fund, Special Revenue, Food Service, Internal, and Enterprise. At this time, Dr. Moore will recognize Mr. Green to present on the proposed 24-25 final budget.
Mr. Green.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Through the chair, just some notable highlights as we discussed before. The school district did receive the grade of an A for the second year in a row. The percent of A and B schools has
Bruce.
increased
Sorry, a little bit closer. I'm sorry.
from 47% to 95% from 18-19 to 23-24. And the overall percent of district school grade points ranks us, I say tied with 8th, some people say 9th, as we were 38th in 18-19. So those are some significant academic improvements, and as we know, the budget is a very important part of that. So just some highlights: the general fund's beginning fund balance increased by 3% from 14 to 17%. That was a planned increase from the utilization of the ESSER funds, as we'll use that to offset those salaries as they move back into the general fund. The state funding increased by approximately $7 million, or 15%, compared to the prior year, with $4 million of that being in the Family Empowerment Scholarship. Local funding increased by $5.4 million, or 4%, compared to the prior year. As the speaker noted earlier, the district's long-term debt continues to decrease, with the majority of the remaining obligations being paid off in 2027. Some retire in 2025, some in 2027, with the balance being fully paid down by 2032. This year marks the second year for charter schools receiving a portion of the 1.5 capital outlay. This year, that proportion will go from 20 to 40%, and that will continue to increase over the next 3 years until 100%. That's approximately $1.3 million this year. The district's health insurance program maintains a healthy fund balance of just over $8 million, and we meet with the HITEF monthly to discuss that. The balance is roughly $7.5 million now, but $3.2 million of that's required to meet safe harbor under statute, and the other $3.2 million is required for reserves. So it's a nice, healthy fund balance starting off in the health insurance fund. Federal funds, as we can anticipate as the ESSER grants are falling off, decreased by $9.8 million, or 39%, as we would expect. And extended day, the one thing that we have generally not been able to get into the budget for the final budget is their OPEB, their pension and other post-employment benefits. So pension and OPEB, we did receive those in time to get those in at the last minute. And instead of a $600,000 hit, their hit this year is $198,354. And the $500,000 fund balance we had was able to absorb that and still leave a $356,554.76 fund balance, even after the board heard the community and we worked on keeping those fees as close to the same as possible for the community. So that was good news. The school taxable property values increased from $30.3 billion to $32.6 billion, or a $2.3 billion increase, or 7.8% compared to the prior year. The final total budget, including all funds, is $408,426,093, or an increase of $22.1 million, or 5.7% as compared to last year. Tonight, you'll be approving on the next item 3 individual items, which will be the final budget, the annual financial report, which is a balance of all of your financial statements from last year, balancing that out, as well as the budget amendment number 10, your final budget amendments. And finally, for the record, I'd like to read into the record the various funds for the final budget and the dollars generated. The general operating budget in the amount of $233,972,691. The debt service budget in the amount of $33,267,262. The capital outlay budget in the amount of $75,904,131. The food service budget in the amount of $9,697,457. Federal projects budget in the amount of $15,589,578. Health benefits budget in the amount of $37,387,313. And the enterprise or extended day fund budget in the amount of $2,607,660, for a total final budget of $408,426,093. And with that, I'll turn it back to the chair for discussion and public hearing on the budget.
Thank you very much. Anyone like to start with any questions or comments? No comments, Ms. Rosario?
Ditto, same as before.
Mr. McDonald?
No comment.
Dr. Posca?
Thank you. I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Ms. Berenborg?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
That's great. Thank you. All right, so now we will go into public hearing for the proposed 24-25 final budget. This item deals with the 24-25 proposed, 24-25 final budget. Dr. Moore, have you documented that the public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statute?
Yes, ma'am.
We now recess the meeting to conduct the public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in session. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Not at this time.
The public is invited to address this issue at this time. Citizen input is to be related directly to the proposed final budget. Members of the community wishing to share comments on other topics should plan to attend our next school board business meeting on September 23rd. Is there an individual representing an organization or his own personal or public interest who wishes to speak? No one wishes to speak. Okay. I conclude the announced public hearing on September 9th, 2024 on the proposed 24-25 final budget has been conducted pursuant to notice, and ample opportunity to address this issue has been provided to all. The board meeting is reconvened at this time. Okay, adoption of the final budget. Approval of Resolution 24-25 for adoption. Final budget of the 23-24 annual finance report dated as of June 30th, 2024, inclusive of the cost report in the 23-24 final budget amendments for fiscal year 23-24, number 10. Adoption of the budget, requesting the approval of the resolution that represents all funds required by the district to execute all duties and responsibilities of the school district of Indian River County. One last thing I will read, section 200.065-2F1 Florida statutes requires that the school board hold a public hearing to finalize the budget and adopt a final millage rate within 80 days, but not earlier than 65 days of certification of the tax roll by the tax assessor. The last date on which a public hearing could be held under state law would be September 18th, 2024. The certification of proposed millage rates to the tax assessor is due by September 21st. The certification of proposed millage rates to the tax assessor is due within 3 days after approval and must include the date, time, and place of the second public hearing. Okay. I would like to call for a motion for approval of Resolution 2504 for adoption of the 24-25 final budget and approval of the 23-24 annual financial report dated as of June 30th, 2024, inclusive of cost report in the 23-24 final budget amendment for fiscal year 23-24, number 10. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. McDonald?
Second.
Second, Ms. Rosario. Chair recognizes Ms. Morey for a roll call.
Pasca,
Aye.
Ms. Rosario,
Aye.
Dr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Berenborg,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
The motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Before we close, again, just a special thank you to everyone involved with this. Thank you to our Taxpayers Association, Pastor Joe, for being here today. It's really great that we have a collaborative working relationship because it's very important to us on the school board that we have connection with our community. Any other closing remarks, school board members? Dr. Moore, I'm sorry, your remarks.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just my sincere appreciation for the work this team does. I think we all hear 21 days, and we're like, oh my gosh, that is a tremendous amount of work. It is par for the course for this team. And you do this work with an absolute smile on your face. Such appreciation for your families who allow you to spend that time making sure every nickel is in place where it needs to be so we can be in service of our students. Our school system is talking a great deal about service, and your office is the epitome of service. Whenever you walk in your office, there is a feeling of joy, which is probably the best word that I can describe. The pressure is immense. Not carrying a 1 or putting a decimal in the wrong place has significant impact. But yet every time that you're in that office, and I'm always trying to hunt down Mr. Green, and he's never there. He's in another space. But it's just a sense of joy, camaraderie, and hard work, service, which is what we want to be. So thank you so much for all of your hard work and contributions to our children and our community.
Any other comments, board members? Or I'd like to close this marvelous Monday meeting
Hey!
at 5:23 p.m. We're adjourned.